Hey, my creative friends, it is time to talk creativity, about having a creative life. And I'm Shannon from Shannon Studio. And this is, I think, like number 71 video. I have done 71 days straight. I'm gonna just like have a little mini celebration because for me this is a big deal to be able to commit like this and to do it every day. And I'm having a good time doing it. Otherwise, I probably would have said, not so much. But I'm having a good time doing it. It's really, for me, is solidifying in my head what's important to me about creativity, what a creative life looks like, how it can be implemented if you don't have one. So these videos are really good for me, and I hope they're good for you. If they are, then like it, send it along to other people to join in the conversation, and so we can just have a good time together. So yesterday I talked about the having an idea notebook, and it's a have to. There's two books. So this is the one book, the idea book. You have to have an idea book, and then the second thing I think is you just need two books to start your art making, and two tools, a pen and a pencil. That's it. 4 things to start out to take your creativity and start to, build it. And so the first thing was the idea book, and the second thing is an image book. And an image book, I mean, so that you can start your mark making. And the only criteria I really think for an image book is that it has thick pages. And not everybody maybe needs thick pages right at first, but at some point I think you're going to want to bring in other tools, watercolor, markers, pens, acrylics, just things, even collage, glue, stuff, so whatever it is, usually at some point to be able to make it really good for yourself is to get thick pages. So there's one book that I have. This one is really big. It's by Jane Davenport. Oh, the pages fell out. Jane Davenport, and it has super thick pages. It is, I think, like 140-pound pages in there. And it's big. It's like, it's 9 by 12, something like that. It's a bigger one, and so it's really super nice. And I'm using it for my Sweden sketchbook, and I'm gonna just let you have a peek of some things that I'm having so much fun doing. Some of my sketches from my little cafe runs and some of the places I'm doing things. So I am having a super great time with this, recording my Sweden trip. But the thing is that it's super thick pages. That's what you want. The biggest criteria I would say for a book, it can be any size, but make it big. Jane Davenport. Then the other one I have, and I left a lot of my sketchbooks at home, but I have just a couple here. And there's this one, and this one actually is a tutorial on my YouTube page where I put glitter vinyl, because I'm a glitter girl. Put glitter vinyl on a Strathmore sketchbook. And this one too is really thick pages. And so so that's the only criteria I say when you're doing things. And I think if you want to, I think we're gonna start to do some little mark making at some point. I still kind of want to do tips because I really feel like the art starts way before we start even putting anything to a page. So I think that we'll still continue, but at some point we're gonna start doing some things with this, especially if you guys get books, 2 books, image book and an idea book. So those are the 2 things. So we're gonna talk about the image book a little bit more tonight. Like I said, thick paper, biggest criteria. So let's see. This is where all your ideas will start. This is where you play. This is where you just I'm just gonna sit down and just do something, doodle. This is where you put images in it if you want from other places to kind of inspire you, or color, palettes. can't think of the word, the color, you know, where you, color palettes where you bring together a group of colors, all kinds of things you can just put inside of something like this. You can draw. So, and I want to stress, this is not where you're making your art per se. You can, like on my other big one, I'm making art in it that I'm going to use. But this one is where you start to do ideas and start to put down marks. So for instance, I'm just going to go through this. This one was just for me. So, you know, I have a thought. I was thinking about the agency and the fact that we get to choose. And so, you know, it was like, I just wanted to doodle that. And then, just another thing. I mean, these are totally random. They don't go together at all. Just see some different imagery where it's like, what does that, you know, have anything to do with anything? I started this and then it was like, oh, I could use it for this. Just trying to see what things look like next to each other. So I had those little icons, and then it was like, well, what would it look like with a background behind it? And something in a book like this, you can do that because it's like, who cares? This isn't for anybody but you. This is another one where I thought, I wonder what the gold would look like, and what gold on gold, you know, and does that work? Then I did one like this, trying somebody. Oh, this was actually like a Jane Davenport-ish style. She does these long necks on these females and stuff like that. So I thought I'd try it out. You know, just a sketch that didn't really go anywhere. Then I drew something else. And sometimes I don't even mean to do that. Sometimes I'm just like, oh, I'll try an eye, but then it starts to go further. So you can explore and it starts to build on itself. So just things where more gold, I wanted to try that. How many different things can you get on look like a leaf sort of thing? Steps in there. How do I get from point A to point B? Point A to point B. And what does it look like with different values with the same color? What does it look like with just, how can you make it look? And then here we get to something else. Okay, so this is where I wanted you to realize that, you're doodling, and this is where you might get your ideas from. So I was doodling this, and I had some letters, and I was doodling these letters. You can see up here, I was practicing end caps to the letter A and what kind of different things you can do. So I was just playing. And so then I wrote this art journal. So then I did that. And then when I went to go do my fabric collection, I was like, I want to add an alphabet. I go, I think I did an alphabet. I think I did something, earlier. So I went back to this and I was like, yeah, I like that. So then it was more of, so then I made a complete alphabet. It's like, okay, I liked that, so I'll make a complete alphabet because I was looking for something for my next fabric collection. So from just that doodle of not knowing, I was just playing, then came my newest fabric collection is love letters, and these are the fabrics that came out of it. Now, I was just doodling. I had no intention of going, oh, I'm going to draw this so that I can do that. I do that sometimes where I'm intentional and I draw things, but sometimes it's just like, oh, I did something. And so it led into this. So the whole idea of the image book is to just make marks, just to like put something down that you feel like doing. If you've seen something, oh, I want to try that. If you want to put together colors and see what they do. So there's a couple things when you're doing this that you can take in consideration. One is to set some time aside. We talked about that in the video, time blocking. I'm not your mother right now. Time blocking number 65. So set aside a time. Get your book and set aside a time. And then another one is find a teacher if you're not really comfortable. Find somebody that you like their style and see if they have any how-to videos. There are bajillion, there's a ton, a boatload of people out there who do how-to videos. I even have some that show you how to do things. Find them. Go on my Instagram and look at some of the people I follow. You will find some artists there, and some of them are great for beginners. And even then there's all the way up. So find a teacher if you feel uncomfortable. Don't compare. I think I did the video. It's a non-compete zone, number 58. Non-compete zone. You're not a professional. Even if you are a professional, it's best if you don't compare. And if you think about kids when they're just little and the teacher says, go ahead and we're going to color and you're going to color, the kids just like put their heads down and color. They just like go for it. They're not like checking everybody else on the table what they're doing. They get their imagery down, they get their excitement on the page, and then after they're done, they look around and see what other people have done. Be a kid when you're doing this and keep your head down. I mean, if you need somebody to help you do a certain style, then do that. But just keep your head down and keep your head in it. And the other thing is sometimes this was the case. It's just hard when you have a blank book. It's just hard. And so I was under that same thing when I had this book, I was like, sometimes starting is the hardest thing. What did it say? Sometimes starting is the hardest. I just had this blank book just like you, and I was just like, okay, that's what I'm going to write about. That's what I'm going to do. But then the imagery came to me that, these things we do are little seeds that start out that we just don't know where they're going to go, like the alphabet and the fabrics. We don't know where our imagery in mark making is going to go. But if we don't have anything that we've marked, it will go nowhere. It goes nowhere. You can't get the benefits that I've talked about and that are on my website that creativity does for you. You can't get them if you don't ever make the mark. And here's a quote from Creative Calling book. It says, your job early on is to make things using all your time, and the energy that you can muster. That's what your job is with this book, is to just make things in it, just draw things, just mark things, just anything, just let it go. And it's like the idea book. It's yours. Nobody has to see it. Nobody can critique it. It's just you. It's you on some pages. It's like, this is your creative brain. This is your creative hand. And so you want to make marks. And really, you don't want to leave this world without making some marks. My idea books, one of my daughters says, I want one of those when you're gone. I want one of those because it shows me, it shows part of me. And I can't help but think that if you do something like this, that there's not somebody in your family at some point that's going to go, you know what, grandma did this. You know what, auntie did this, or somebody. It's going to be important to people. We have lost sight of letters and journals and all kinds of things, and they're going to become more precious to people because there are going to be so few of them. So that is the tip today. Let me see. Get an image book. That's it. Get an image book. Start your mark making. And I want to look and see. Oh, here's a good quote, and I'll kind of end with this quote because I just thought it was so, it kind of encapsulates it. It says, it's from Anais Nin. I will not be just a tourist in the world of images. I love that. I will not be just a tourist in the world of images. So start your image making, start your mark making, get your image book. These two books we're going to use, and if you hang with me, we're going to keep using them and refer to them. And Debbie Pratt. Oh, I love Debbie Pratt. She's wonderful. She does scrapbooks. She does scrapbooks and invitations and stuff. So that's her like little creative zone. Good to see you, Debbie. I'm just actually ending tonight, and just wanted to tell you, go get a book, go get an imagery book, get your idea book, imagery book, pen and pencil, and just start there. And then we will, tomorrow, I'm going to talk about note-taking. Since we talked about getting the book, the idea book, I am going to just talk about note-taking and some of the fun ways you can take notes and get some ideas down. So that's tomorrow. I've committed, so I'm going to make sure it gets done today, tomorrow, to be able to do that. So tomorrow we're going to do that. Get your notebooks. You're going to want your notebooks, your 2 books, image, idea. And remember, you have a creative heartbeat, so listen for it. And I will be back tomorrow to talk more creativity with you. And I will see you later. And bye, Debbie.